Hey patent friends, welcome back to another video. What I want to talk about today is something that is the most surprising and most counterintuitive thing when it comes to patent and IP strategy, and something that tends to blow clients' minds when I talk to them about this strategy. It's something that ends up saving folks a lot of time and a lot of headache, and that's that the question of whether your idea is patentable, a lot of times it's completely meaningless and doesn't really matter. Stick around, we're starting right now, and I will explain. So for those of you who are new here, my name is Dylan Adams. I am a patent attorney and author of the best-selling book, Patents Demystified, which is an insider's guide to protecting ideas and inventions used by inventors, entrepreneurs, and startups worldwide, including at top universities like Harvard, Stanford, and MIT. You might also recognize me from my appearance on CNBC's hit show, The Profit with Marcus Lemonis. So this channel is all about giving you the inside tips and information about how I help my clients, whether they be garage inventors or startups or Fortune 100 companies, how I help them protect their ideas and inventions. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and click that little bell icon so you don't miss any important patent videos. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be asking and thinking, like, Dylan, what the hell are you talking about? My idea, being patentable doesn't really matter to the success of my company. What can you possibly mean by that? So, and again, it's totally counterintuitive, but it's a kind of strategy that actually saves clients tons of money and leads to more success by kind of ignoring the idea of patentability when it really comes down to it. So let me break it down and really explain. So a lot of people focus on the idea that to be patentable, your idea needs to be new and non-obvious over the prior art. So you file your non-provisional patent application, it waits in line for 1 to 3 years. Patent examiner will pick it up and do examination and look at what you have claimed and compare it to the prior art that he or she finds and say, hey, is what you have, is it new and non-obvious, okay? And if what you have is not new and non-obvious and you can't amend the claims or argue against the rejections, then your idea isn't patentable. You have to give up, the application goes abandoned, and you never get a patent. And so what a lot of people think is, I need to do a big prior art search. I need to go and I need to look at all the prior art and I need to figure out whether my idea is patentable or not. And that's an essential part of the patent process. Now, again, I have a couple of videos all about prior art searching, why a lot of times it's a total scam. It's patent attorneys kind of trying to upsell you and charge you more money. And it really doesn't give you a lot of actionable information that is really actually helpful to the patent process. But one of the most important aspects of this is that, patents are not just a binary thing. It's not just you have a patent or you don't. It's a scope or a gradient of protection. You can have a patent that is really broad and covers your product and a ton of different variations, so that it's really hard for competitors to come in and make changes. All those changes and all those things that are very similar, those will still infringe. On the other side, you can have a patent that is so narrow and so specific that somebody could come around and make a minute change and then get around your patent, which kind of makes the patent worthless. And the reality is that you're really not going to know a lot of times until you get into examination. It's very examiner by examiner. One examiner is going to say, oh yeah, there's a lot of prior art that's different here, or sorry, a lot of prior art that's the same, but I see the differences. It wouldn't be obvious to combine these things to come to your invention. Whereas another examiner would say, there's these pieces of prior art, like nothing, alone teaches what you have, but it would be easy to combine it. Your average person would know, combine this, combine this, combine this. Your idea is obvious. I'm not going to let this through as a patent, and you just can't argue against it. So it's a lot of times worthless to do all this work up front, look at the prior art, when a lot of times what I find is when people do this prior art searching, they don't find the things that the examiner is going to find relevant. It's these sort of random things that end up being sort of hodgepodge together to create obviousness rejections. And so all this work and all this effort and all this speculation over is my idea patentable through prior art searching, it ends up being worthless in terms of time and energy, and most importantly, in terms of money. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, hey, it doesn't really matter. And here's another consideration, okay? So it's the patent process takes such a long time. And let me kind of walk you through the typical life cycle of, say, a startup and the patent process. Okay, so with the patent process, what we typically do is file what is called a provisional patent application. And a provisional patent application, it's just a placeholder, it's not substantively examined, it only lasts for 1 year. So you file a provisional, it lasts for 1 year, it expires at the end of the year, and that's when you have to file the non-provisional patent application. Now, this non-provisional patent application, that's the formal application that waits in line for, say, 1 to 3 years or so before the examination process begins. And once the examination process begins, that can be years sometimes for the examination process. So, think of it like this, it's probably going to be, maybe 2-5 years or so from provisional application to knowing whether your idea is going to be patentable. When it comes to a lot of startups, I have a lot of clients and have had a lot of clients who get substantial traction in terms of, great sales, attracting investors, attracting partners, or even having exits where they sell the company or go public or something well before the examination process even begins, or even in the middle of the examination process. And at that point, it doesn't really matter. What is important is the perceived ownership through filing a provisional patent application and following that up with the non-provisional patent application. Good investors and good partners and even customers don't care that you actually have an issued patent. There are going to be some people, and I've dealt with some of these people who say, oh, we need to have an issued patent, but they tend to be the people who they don't believe in the company, they don't really believe in the product. It's kind of a way to blow people off. And so if you have folks saying, oh, well, you need to have an issued patent before you're going to be doing anything, absolutely not. You need to file your provisional patent application and then go sell the product, go find investors, go find partners, think about an exit. Because like I said, I've had a ton of clients who they will have an exit, they will sell their company, they will be absurdly successful in their company to the point where they end up even abandoning some of their patent applications because they're like, well, at this point, we don't really need it. It ends up being not all that important. And that's really counterintuitive. People think, hey, we need to get the issued patent as soon as possible. We need to, spend money on all these prior art searches, but that's really not the case. Successful startups and successful large companies never do prior art searching. I would say, maybe 2% of my clients, whether they be huge companies, especially huge companies, they never do prior art searching. And even the smaller companies don't do it as well, because we know that one, you're not going to get actionable information. There's just so much prior out there. It's subjective when it comes to an individual examiner. And two, there's a lot of hidden prior art. By default, patent applications are held in secret for at least 18 months from filing, and then potentially all the way up until they issue as a patent. So there's tons of hidden prior art out there. And the world of prior art is huge. You are going to have a hard time doing patent searching. The language that patents are written in, it's not very conducive to doing good searches. And so even the best searches that I found, they tend to miss stuff. And then prior art can be so many things. Yes, it could be issued patents. It could be pending published applications that maybe are still pending or maybe have gone abandoned. That could be prior art. But prior art could still be scientific papers. It could be blog posts. It could be actual physical products that are kind of on Amazon or something. And so there's no way to do a worldwide search of all patent literature and of all products and all blog posts. It's impossible to do that. And so what I typically say is file your provisional patent application, create perceived ownership. That's what's most important. Use that perceived ownership to attract investors, attract partners, get traction with customers, get the business going. Then you don't want to have to spend the money on that non-provisional patent application. That's why you need the investors to pay for those things. And then, it's going to be a long time before you even know whether it's going to be patentable or not. And typically the issue is not, oh, is it patentable or not? Like I said, patents are a spectrum or a gradient of protection. Usually it's going to be the issue of how broad or narrow is the patent going to be, not whether it's going to be patentable in general. Now, there are some exceptions. So for folks who have, say, consumer products and they feel like enforcement is going to be really important, and they're not looking to attract investors or not looking for an exit strategy within a relatively short period of time, and they're looking to actually build a portfolio for enforcement, that may change things a little bit. And honestly, a lot of times, for consumer products and for smaller companies, the return on investment for those sort of products can be kind of low when it comes to patents. Patents are expensive and they're time consuming, and the life cycle of those kind of products tends to be kind of short. And so, for instance, if the life cycle of a product, it's going to be popular for maybe, 3-4 years, you're barely going to sometimes get to the examination phase. You're not going to even have issued patents, as the product is kind of dying out. So for certain, small products like that, or especially if you have a company that has a lot of these small products with sort of short lifespans, patents may not even make sense for you. That may be one of the exceptions. But in general, that's the patent strategy, and that's the thing that surprises people, and it's really controversial. People still say, it would be malpractice to, not do a prior art search before filing a patent application. But sorry, even the big companies who have all the money to be able to do any prior art search that they would want to, they don't do it either. Very, very rarely do big companies do it, and very rarely do smart startups and individual companies do prior art searching. So that is the counterintuitive thing that I think saves people a lot of money, is don't worry too much about the whole, is it patentable or is it not? Just file your provisional patent application, start the process, create perceived ownership. That is what is critical. So, I'd love to hear comments down below. If you disagree, which I'm sure a lot of you do, let me know. I would love to hear about it. I'd love to have that debate. And if you agree, let me know. Let me know if you've done this, if you've experienced these strategies. And if you got some value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want more great patent content, be sure to subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you don't miss any great videos. We've got a lot of great additional content. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.